What is that, brother?
Brian H.
Well, I mean, you was right there. I just thought you was gonna take it, but here's the oop. Yeah. So Tony Khan has decided to make another big announcement. This time, and
Another one.
I'm really excited because we talked about it, but we didn't get the full breakdown. So it's time to cut the realness loose.
Yeah.
Because another big announcement.
Why you guys applauding to that? Like, why are you applauding the fact
I
that,
don't know.
because it was another big announcement. You know, you got to clap for those.
Was it a big announcement?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling are breaking the fourth wall. They are going through the Forbidden Door in Chicago at the Allstate Arena, which most people from Chicago tell you that's not an easy arena to book. It's expensive or whatever, but it can seat the most people. But they're going to go back there, and I believe the last time they were there was when CM Punk came back. So we're going to get this New Japan AEW Super Show. How excited are you?
Let me ask you a question. This is to both. This is going to be a dialogue. This is not going to be a realness rant. Should that be a segment? Realness rant?
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, I ran too much as it is.
I mean, you got Realness Reacts coming to Patreon. Make sure y'all subscribe.
Oh, you're gonna want to hear that one.
Yep, that is true.
Is it too little, too late at this point? Right. And this is why I asked that. It's because love the name of it, love the idea of it, but it's like, well, it's like when all the Forbidden Door stuff was kind of happening. You know what I mean? I know there was a transition with New Japan's presidents. You know, the previous president, was kind of old schoolers when it came to competition versus the newest president of New Japan Pro Wrestling is more like, look, let's build community rather than competition, because I think if competition creates cash or prevents cash, I could understand that, right? Because the market's only but so big. But we're talking post or kind of late global pandemic. A lot of, most of these wrestling promotions found it was easier to, hey, let's kind of be more of a community more than competition to make money so that our businesses can be sustained. But I wonder if it's too little, too late. When you look at New Japan and I mean, New Japan's history is, beyond speaking. It always has its place in the lore of professional wrestling. But then you look at what New Japan was versus what New Japan is today, right? New Japan is kind of in a down period in regards to global popularity. I know they've been expanding, and I know they've already been doing talent exchanges with AEW, with like John Moxley, and then Jay Wright can kind of move and shake as he wants to. He's shown up on Impact and AEW. He does more things on Impact than he does AEW, of course.
Switchblade,
But then you have a lot of talent that's come in from Ring of Honor that are, under contracts with AEW. And then you have a lot of guys that have signed with AEW that are former Ring of Honor guys that, we probably would love to see some matchups with some of the Japanese superstars of New Japan Pro Wrestling. But my thing is, personally, I'm like, as exciting as this is, I mean, first of all, they're smart for doing it in Chicago. I think that's genius, because that's a very core rabid wrestling audience. I think that's the perfect place to do it. Chicago, New York, obviously, but I'm not as excited about it. Is because there aren't many fresh matchups that I want to see. I lived through the Ring of Honor New Japan Pro Wrestling partnership, right? Like I said, it was in our backyard, so we were privy to a lot of good stuff, and not only stuff that we saw in person, but we were privy to a lot of good television, access to DVDs and stuff that most people probably don't even have access to now, because I don't know where you would go to try to buy a Ring of Honor DVD at this point. Especially with those matchups, with those collaboration shows like Global Wars and War of the Worlds. They would do one in stateside and they would do one in Canada.
That's a good point.
Now, obviously with global pandemic, there was an issue with traveling. And I know a lot of guys, New Japan did a lot of stuff with a lot of American talent in the talent exchange, because they couldn't produce their, they weren't able, like, there's no way in the world the Good Brothers wrestle full time in Impact if they were able to travel to New Japan. You know what I mean? When they got released way back when. The problem is I've seen this before already. Like I've seen everybody that you enjoy now in AEW, that you enjoy now in NXT, and even on the AEW, I mean on WWE's main roster, as well as Impact. I've seen them put on some of the best matches. You know, I've seen the Shinsuke and the Tanahashis and the Okadas. Now there's a Kenny Omega's, his Young Bucks. You know, at the time, there's plenty of dream matches and scenarios that you would love to still see. And I think if it's done right, by all means, I think it's going to be a great show. But it's just like same thing. I've seen this already. You know what I mean? And now you have to compete with me enjoying so much of what I've already seen and convince me that this is going to be just as good. Now you don't have to do me personally because I'm in the minority when it comes to the situation, but like AEW has this handful with Ring of Honor, which we're going to touch bases on as we transition out of this one. But it's like, what is AEW supposed to do? Like, I think it'll be a good show, but I think there's going to be a lot of missing elements. You know what I mean? Like outside of a few guys like Tanahashi, Okada, Kota Ibushi. There's plenty of guys in New Japan that people still love to see, but it's like, I mean, I get it and I appreciate it, but it's just like I've seen it already. Like, you know what I mean? Of course, we're gonna get Adam Cole or somebody, but like, there's no Cody Rhodes anymore. You know what I mean? Right now, I don't know what Kenny Omega's health looks like. So he was a big part of that. Like these guys came from New Japan, the Young Bucks, same thing. Like all these guys cut their teeth and have so much crazy history in New Japan. Like I'll put that stuff up against a lot of things that I'm watching to this day. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
So there's nothing out there that you like, I guess no dream matches that you really want to see?
I would have loved to seen Cody and Tanahashi.
Okay.
You know, they're very similar in presentation. You know what I mean? Of course, like you can you're fortunate enough to see stuff like Samoa Joe and Tanahashi or Samoa Joe, but like Samoa Joe's older, so that's one of the issues that WWE's having right now is that all their younger talent, or by the time their talent is kind of getting to where they need to be, they're older. And Brian H and I, we've all kind of had a small conversation about it in our group text amongst the Brotherhood that Triple H finally came clean about what we love so much, and NXT transitioned to NXT 2.0 and why they've kind of changed their approach and who they're recruiting. It's because at the end of the day, they're like, well, the reality is we have to get younger. Because like I had no idea Damian Priest was 39. Like he's just getting started in WWE and he's 39. Right. Like he hadn't even had a solid run yet. I'm like, man, he's already at the end of his rope. You know, Shayna Baszler, by the time she got to the main roster, she was 38. Like she's 40 now. You know what I mean? Like I don't know when she got there. What I'm saying, but it's like, oh, okay, I guess you got a point. WWE has never been the kind of we're just gonna ride the talent till they get older because they've always had these youth movements, and that's just kind of their history. You know, right. although the guys they've released still have staying power and star power, companies like AEW can benefit off their last runs rather than Vince McMahon's attitude of we got to build new stars for the future. It's good that we have all these established names, but they got to move on at some point.
So let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead.
Now I was about to say, I think Bobby Fish got cut because he was older. You know, when Bobby Fish was one of the he was the first one from Undisputed Era to get cut. I said I know they cut him because of his age. They're like, we don't want to have another 42-year-old coming up from developmental. You know what I mean? I think Triple H admitted to it, like, look, man, we kind of lost what this was really about. Like, we weren't here just to build a third brand. We still had to develop people, but they were down here for so long, nobody wanted to leave. That it's like, how much can you really get out of them in the future? Because like a Tommaso Ciampa's, he's very relaxed and he's not the kind of guy that he's like, look, man, I'm not here to cause a lot of noise. Whatever they give me, I'll do happily. Yeah, because he's 36. You know what I mean?
I'm 36.
You know what I mean? Like he's 36, just getting started. Like AJ Styles is 40, whatever he is,
and 40 plus,
and Bobby Lashley is 45. They're just getting main event runs, but look at their careers up to that point, though. They've done so much versus a Damian Priest. He's just getting started at 39. So you kind of understand why they have this attitude of, hey, we got to start going after kind of young. Let's get these younger guys started a little bit earlier. Let's get them established now. And we see it in Braun Breaker. You know what I mean? Yeah. We see it in guys like Hook and AEW. Like they're not wasting any time anymore. Like, because it's like, well, time is of the essence. And it's like, well, we need staying power. We need drawing power. Like, we don't have a lot of time for these guys to figure it out at this age, because how much time do you get? Like Damian Priest in 5 years will be 46 years old. You know what I mean? Like everybody can't be Diamond Dallas Page. See, back in the day, it was only one Diamond Dallas Page, like getting started at 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And winning his first world title at 40. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That was, so it's just like you when you see that kind of stuff, you kind of understand why. So it's like, when you talk about dream matchups, it's like, sure, you want to see Okada. I want to see Okada versus who in AEW? Chris Jericho? Like I want to see Okada versus who? Cody Rhodes? Ah, shoot. Like, I don't want to see him against Sammy G, and some fans do, but I'm like, who does that benefit in the long term?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now,
I think
when
it'd be
would have
cool.
been?
I think it'd be cool to see Okada and Tanahashi in American television again to expose the
Oh,
wrestling
without a
audience to those
doubt.
guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those two guys deserve, because those guys were on the same level as Shinsuke, but Shinsuke surpassed both of them just being a part of the WWE.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, in a main event program at WrestleMania at 34, with AJ. I guess the question would have been, like, when would have been the time? If we think about this Forbidden Door with AEW and New Japan, what would have been the time?
I don't think they would have had one just because of a global pandemic. It just wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
Like they just
Gotcha.
you can't stop travel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you can't leave the country, if Japan was on lockdown on quite a few occasions because of outbreaks they were trying to control, their end of it, like you can't blame companies for that. That's why, like, I was
Mhm.
looking at, they were doing all the US shows, like they were on US soil, and it was like a lot of American talent. It was very few, if any, Japanese stars on those shows. You know what I mean? It was like the guys that didn't need visas to travel, that were able to get in and out of the country, because when they kind of let up a little bit. Yeah, I could imagine it'd be a traveling nightmare if you need a work visa to try to travel versus someone like, well, I'm American, I can go back and forth. You know what I mean? So it's, man, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, man, I'm glad, but it's like that the Forbidden Door. What the best time I say this is when the Forbidden Door was open
Okay.
the first time, when everybody was doing it.
Mhm.
If Jay White and all those
throw them in
guys
the
were,
mix.
yeah, like when all that stuff had happened the first, because it would have done is it would have left this surprise element for the wrestling fans that were clamoring to the wrestling product due to a global pandemic. So when everybody was kind of jumping ship and kind of teasing who would come in, who would leave, and who was going to show up on what show, I think that would have been a perfect time to do it. And you didn't need to have a whole lot of crazy talent because Kenny Omega was still healthy. Imagine it being done when Kenny Omega won all those belts. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah, buddy.
and then they allowed, Kota Ibushi to bring the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship over to the, you know what I mean? Like you're going to tune into that match because you're going to say, I know Kenny Omega's not about to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You know what I mean?
Again, as a part of
Again,
AEW.
exactly. Or Okada. You know what I mean? Like those would have been the would have that I think would have made it that much more spectacular. But it's like, oh, it'll be great. But it's just like, doesn't really have as much buzz because we're not as exposed to New Japan as we used to be with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, every time New Japan had a star they were working on, they would send them to the States to do an excursion, and they were in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We saw it with Shinsuke. We saw it with Jay White. Jay White used to come out there, because you don't have a gimmick until you work states until you go back, and then they give you a gimmick. Shinsuke was over here at one point. We got to expose to him. We got exposed to Tanahashi. We got exposed to AJ Styles. We got exposed to the Young Bucks. Those guys weren't signed to Ring of Honor at one point. AJ Styles was eventually. You know what I mean? And the guys like who was I thinking about? Like Kenny Omega never came over in any of those pay-per-views. Like he was never a part of those things. It was always AJ, the Bucks, the Bullet Club, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. They were New Japan guys.
Your
that came.
guys.
OG Good Brothers. They were working Ring of Honor. So like we were exposed to New Japan way more back then because of the partnership. Now it's like, I mean, like I said, thankfully it's in Chicago because I think that wrestling audience is going to be very familiar with what they decide to give us at the end of the day. But
that crowd gonna be hot.
It just doesn't feel the same.
We might have to take a road trip.
I mean, maybe, or like I'll give you a prime example. Like say you take one of your biggest stars in New Japan, you take one of your biggest stars in AEW, you do Moxley versus Tanahashi. Oh, wait a minute, we saw it already.
Right.
Because Moxley beat Tanahashi for the IWGP United States Championship. Like, come on, man. Like, it's stuff like that. I'm like, well, and I appreciate bringing it to a bigger audience. Kind of like, look, you looking for it.
No,
kind of like,
no, because I was looking. No, it's there, but like,
as a matter of fact, where's my U.S. title?
My kid, my nephew was in town, and so he was over here playing with the spinner belt, and I was like, "Oh, they ain't knock him," but they didn't know.
Oh, okay. He, had to double check. He was saying like, "Wait a minute, my nephew was here. Let me check my." Okay, I just want to double check real quick. But yeah, man. I mean, that's just man. Like, I don't know. Like, who's the top baby face right now in AEW?
It's your boy Page, ain't it?
Right, it's Hangman Page. Like, okay, so you take Hangman Page versus Kota Ibushi.
That's
like they're two guys that have very little personalities when it comes to boisterous professional wrestling presentation. Like they're great in ring guys. Like that's what they're known for, right? Yep. Like Hogan's not known for his work in the ring. He's known for being the personality and the character and the boisterous presentation of Hulk Hogan, right? That's what you pay to see. You don't pay to see him,
brother.
That's why That's why children never complain about his wrestling moves. You pay for the experience, right?
He's trash.
What are we paying for with Kota Ibushi and Hangman Page? Or do we get Hangman Page versus Tanahashi? To me, that's one-sided. Hangman Page doesn't belong in the ring with those guys. I know he's a champion.
I'm gonna be real with you. He doesn't.
Like, come on now. Like
he's
when we
not
saw,
on that level.
Like when AJ Styles showed up in New Japan, we were like, okay, this is something we haven't seen before. So when he got in the ring with Shinsuke, when he got in the ring with Okada, when he got in the ring with Tanahashi, like those are your guys. Like if Tanahashi and Cody would have been perfect, like two pillars of a company, you know what I mean? But it's like now, to me, a lot of that star power is gone. Like I said, Kenny not being there or being healthy, I don't know what his status is. From what I'm hearing, like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a desperate move since Cody left.
I think so.
Just to kind of keep up with the WWE, you know.
But you are though, because now you're still reaching out for other talent to draw you a number. What does that say to your roster? What does that say to your locker room? Where like you constantly collect. Like Cody made a comment, because this is what we do. Cody made a comment about Tony being excessive with the signings. His thing was like, we don't have to sign everybody. He's like, no, they're talented. They're a great asset to what we should. And then right, but now you have this oversaturated roster of very similar wrestlers, right? And very little personalities that can put butts in the seats. Like if the wrestling fans is saving your company because they're the only reason that they show up every week, because they don't care what you put out there, they're going to support you regardless, which is what the community does, right? But where do you go from there? Like, you have all these bodies on your roster, and now you're doing another partnership show. It made sense when you had to share talent because of the financial situation of the business when it comes to the effects of a global pandemic. Now you're still doing it, and you have all those people on your roster, and they got all of them. They're not going to show up on the show. I'm assuming it's going to be the biggest and the brightest of New Japan against the biggest and the brightest of AEW in some way, shape, or form. See, New Japan used to book shows 5 hours straight and had something for everybody. And the first matches, they even had old head matches. They would have guys, they were almost in their 50s, 60s, having one more match. That's the nostalgia run. Then they're going to have an 8-man tornado tag team match. It's going to be 4 tag teams, no rules, no in-ring. Whoever pins so and so for it. Young Bucks, you should go flying around. Then you're gonna have a championship match from another company, whether it's an NWA title or the Ring of Honor title being defended. Like it was. That's just how they book their shows, because that's how wrestling in Japan is booked, as competitive wrestling based. It's not like, well, you need a storyline for each situation. No, it's a showcase. That's how they book their matches.
I was about to say it's completely different over there.
That's how the audience take it.
And that's the biggest difference. Like, they'll pay to see that because that's their audience, right? That's why they do the Tokyo Dome every year. You got to bring that to the American audience now. Now, what are you supposed to do? Like where does it lead? Yeah. But hey, I think it'll be a great show at the end of the day. I'm just not excited. But I'm like, well, I've seen it before. Like, I'm not. Oh my gosh, I got to see this. Well, what am I really going to see that I have not seen already? That honestly I have not seen better versions of. So
I just want to see it because it's a big announcement.
Another one.
Yeah. I gotta check it out just off of that.
Yeah, it's like the other day. Shout out to Jack Farmer of the MacMania podcast and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood watching. We had Eric Bischoff on MacMania earlier this week, and one of the things he talked about was that those numbers not moving. Now, a lot of people aren't educated in ratings and shares. Myself and the Real Dwayne Allen, we did take Professor Adamos' class, so we have a healthy education on that.
I got an 82 in my final exam.
Oh, I got it there. I got 90, bro. I almost had 100 in that class. I ain't gonna lie. Like, that was like first semester back in school. I was like, ready.
Right, this was locked in. I was in a class with too many. Never mind. That's all right.
You was in that class.
Yeah, I was, man. They was tripping. All I know is I got an 82.
Man, but one of the things like he talked about was like you're leading and not over not being better than like your leading shows, and
right.
He said like if another company comes like, look, I can put a better channel or a better show here, they're not doing enough to prove because they're not growing. So eventually, like you said this plenty of times right here. What's going to happen when the non-wrestling fan be like, that's in the executive seat, be like, look, bro, enough of this. We ready to pull the plug, and of course we don't want to see that happen. We're wrestling fans, but just looking at it from that business perspective, it's like that's why like these excessive stuff just doesn't work, and it takes me to the ROH and AEW partnership. How do y'all feel that's going? Because me personally, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's just like it doesn't seem like I know Tony Khan bought it, right? But it just feels like WCW being bought by WWE, which if you remember, a lot of those WCW guys kind of got pushed to the back burner, with the exception of a few. And then you start seeing, sure, Gresham is doing his thing and he's winning on TV, but not everybody else. It's like, all right, I guess I'm assuming clearly they didn't sign Rhett Titus because the belt came off of him quick. And same with the Briscoes. But like to me, those were the people who were like harder ROH, the people who were like the mainstays. We was at that show, me and Brother Hugh, that last show, those guys got the huge pops, and to me it just looks like it's it just looks like they being little brothered. I don't see it as, I just look at it like, all right, it's it's the ROH title, but it ain't the same.
I guess I'm curious about the longevity of what they're doing, right?
With the letters ROH,
just in general, like what are you doing with the company? Like one thing is obvious, right? When Ring of Honor kind of shut the operations down for a while, they released everybody out of their contracts.
Right.
So nobody had exclusive contracts as far as I'm concerned. I'm just a fan. I don't know for sure, but that's just what I was privy to as far as information was concerned, right? So Tony Khan buys Ring of Honor, and now you're saying like Ring of Honor titles defended on AEW. Like, how long do you plan on doing that? Like, what's the end game, right? So we see one obvious trend, right? We see the Ring of Honor titles. First of all, they went back to the old titles for whatever reason. It might be a licensing thing.
Woo! My bad. I saw Tajiri like about to get powerbombed by Kidman, and then he spit the mist in his face.
See, it's classic. It takes you back, doesn't it?
Tajiri, boy. That was my man, the Buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw, but he got Tori Wilson, who I'm not sure if she's married to Kidman yet, but clearly they would get married. But like she's with Tajiri right now. She's got on a long robe and whatnot because he wanted to keep her covered up.
Did we acknowledge Jack Farmer's in the building? Did we acknowledge that?
Yeah, he did.
I did.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Jack Farmer of the Mac Mania podcast. Oh man, I forgot his other shows, but Championship
Come on, man, don't do that.
Hollywood.
There we go.
That's my guy. Yeah, Championship. I did no, because he has another show that escapes me right now because they cover NXT UK. So make sure y'all check that out. Him and Flobo Boyce. But then he also is one of the ring announcer. Color commentator for Championship Wrestling for Hollywood, and he works with Santino's brothers. So yeah, Jack's a busy man, and he's a DJ.
Hey, getting that money.
Hey, we wanted a smooth DJ. Like most DJs wear, shirt and just a regular shirt. Jack wear full suit. Yeah, I gotta check out his photos.
See, that's unique, man. That's somebody that understands the business.
That's marketing right there, baby.
There it is. Like imagine you going to a party and you see your brother fully suited out. You're like, oh yeah, that's somebody you're gonna remember.
Right.
But like I said, I really don't like where is this going to go? So you take all the titles off anybody that's not contracted to AEW. So you pretty much have all AEW guys with Ring of Honor titles, right?
basically.
But they're not like Ring of Honor guys that are being not used in the moment. They're like Ring of Honor guys. They're like AEW guys. I mean that are like on your show, like Wheeler Yuta and stuff like that. Like, wait a minute, these are guys. You have two companies under one roof, another set of titles to be defended, another set of titles to be carried around, and it's like, as a wrestling fan, we all applaud Tony Khan for being a wrestling fan. That's one thing he'll always get respect for. But as a businessman, you say, well, dude, where is this really going? Like, what's the end game? Like, what are you going to let Ring of Honor stand on its own? And how do you plan on doing that? Do you mean you have to sign even more talent? Because now you're responsible. So what are you going to do? You're going to just book talent per show and then keep all the titles on your contract to AEW guys? Because that would say that's the smart business thing to do. But then it's like, well, at some point as a fan, you're going to feel gypped like, well, all the Ring of Honor guys, all the AEW guys never lose the titles. Like, so why am I going to pay to see a guy like Rouge or Bandito come back to defend against the championship when I'm like, well, the Dirt Sheets are going to pretty much air it out. Yeah, they've been booked for the show, but they're not in a contract to Tony Khan. So that audience is what Ring of Honor and AEW has, like the smart mark audience, like the smarts, like they're going to look at that stuff before they go to the show. Well, what are the chances? Is it going to be a good match? Sure, but do I really think he's going to win? No, because obviously one guy's contracted to the guy that owns the company, and the other guy's just being booked for the show. Which leads me to my next point as we transition. I think, and I want to get everybody's perspective on this. My next question, I guess, will be, as we kind of evolve with this concept, is how would you book Ring of Honor now in Tony Khan's position? Because we're not here to criticize, but it's just like, look, how do we figure this out? And we're qualified because we were there in the heyday. Like, that's something no one can ever take away from us. What I'll say in a moment is how I would book Ring of Honor is I would book it still like an indie promotion, like they were doing at one point, where I would only have big shows, but I would have like Ring of Honor matches and stuff, the titles contested on some type of show. Like, get rid of one of your dark shows, get rid of one of your AEW dark shows, and put your Ring of Honor product as a separate brand online, right? The same way NWA is. They kind of do studio television. Same thing. Like, put it in the Impact Zone. You know, that's where AEW Dark is. I mean, something in that regard. Like, it don't have to be big and fancy because it was already an indie fed, right?
Yep.
You can take your young talent that's not being utilized, and you can have them compete on the show. Make it look different. Like, this is the thing. It's to me, it's simple. You can take all that AEW talent that's not being used, and you can trick the entire wrestling audience into thinking they're watching a completely different program and a completely different wrestling promotion if you just make it look different, right? All those people that you putting on dark, you can send in the Ring of Honor, and you could have them wrestle for the pure title and wrestle Samoa Joe for the television title. So one, you get your money out of Samoa Joe. Two, he's working with young talent. Three, the show's not going to be looked at as a third, as like a dark show, you know, that many people consider a downgrade.
Dark.
You know, they got dark, and they got dark elevation and dark escalator and dark, stairwell, like
Dark.
you know what I mean? And it's like, let them go out there and do what they do. Yeah, because that's what Ring of Honor did. They had established guys, but they brought in young talent, and you can book them per appearance. You don't got to sign those guys, right?
Yeah.
You can book it as an online program, and it's like, and then you can still do your big shows, and then you can have your AEW guys be the ones put the butts in the seats, right? You can have, if you have a Ring of Honor show that's online, and you can have FTR come and cut a promo or whoever you want them to wrestle. Say a young up and coming tag team wants to run their miles, then you can send FTR to the arena. So when you do your big shows, you know, even if something like the UMB Event Center, where it's like it's a big arena, but it's, you know what I mean? You can.
I was going to say that
the same way you booked that last show where you sent certain AEW talent to that show to make it what it was. You can do the same thing for all your pay-per-views. It doesn't have to be. You could do 3, 4, 5 a year. It don't have to be that many. If you know, just do your 4 big ones or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And then you can use them sparingly. So then a lot of those talent that's not being used in AEW, you know, on a regular basis, or don't fit into the natural storylines, you could just book. Like, it can be, Ring of Honor has the potential to be AEW's NXT, but it's like you gotta. Why did you buy the company in the first place? Is it just to keep it alive? Is it just for the
Yeah, that's the real
You know what I
question
mean?
right
Is
there.
it just for
Yeah.
the catalog? Because now you have 2 wrestling companies under one roof, and one is clearly inferior to the other. But you're trying to give guys an opportunity to show what they can do. But it's like, are we really watching Ring of Honor? Or are we just watching guys that are signed to AEW / Ring of Honor? And it's like, give them their
Plays
own
with
show if
toys.
that's the case.
But you
Plays
know,
with
so I would take that concept that you just said, but I would actually, you know, go back to those cities that Ring of Honor cut their teeth in. You know, your Baltimore, your Philly, Chicago. Did they hit North Carolina? I can't remember if they hit like Greensboro or something, or Charlotte. But you know, some of those cities, those key cities, that's where I would put those shows at, right?
I don't think he
Like
can
you
do
said,
that though.
why not?
He don't want to spend the money on that.
Well, yeah.
Wait,
Well,
no,
I mean,
you talk about the big shows, the pay-per-views?
even for the pay-per-views.
Okay, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
I got you.
I'm not seeing them doing weekly shows.
Got
You
you,
know what I
got you, got
mean?
you. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. You're right.
Agree,
Yeah.
I agree with your weekly concept
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, putting in, you know, getting like studio style, or even if it's, you know, shoot, do it in Jacksonville, right? That's your home base.
That
Do
Daly's
it in
exactly, bro. Exactly. Do it at
yeah,
Daly's place. You already did
do
it
that.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
And for goodness sake, change the lighting or something. Just don't let it
Bro.
look like AEW Rampage, Dark, Elevation, and Dynamite.
That's
You
their.
know?
I blame their freaking marketing department, because one of the things, this they talk so much trash about he gonna get kicked out of this marketing guy. he talks so much trash about Eric Bischoff and all the mistakes he made in WCW, so on and so forth, right? But are you studying all the things that they did right? One of the main things that Eric Bischoff said he did was like, I had to make Thunder look completely different from Nitro, which he did.
Yep.
It was the blue brand, right? Like,
Man, Cass was excited when Thunder made the Peacock.
And
People
see,
got excited.
Yeah, you ain't, because Thunder was a staple, because it was a second show that we weren't expecting to get, right?
Yep.
And once again, what was Thunder there to do? It was there to showcase talent that weren't always involved in main storylines, right? And it was also a filler show to fill in the gaps between Nitros, right? So like Kevin Nash, like I watched Thunder every week to see what was going on with Booker T and Fit Finlay, or Chris Benoit, or anybody else associated with that level of talent. But also, guess what? It was going to start out with Macho Man promo. It was going to start off with a Kevin Nash promo, and they hated it because they had to just show up. They're like, that's the extra day of travel. They didn't even have to wrestle. They had attitudes just because they had to be there. Kevin Nash like, man, I gotta make an extra traveling day, and one of them might be in a main event, but you was gonna see DDP, you was gonna see your workhorses, and then they was gonna tell you everything you missed on Nitro.
Man,
and they will pull you in.
For me, that was prime time. Like if I was getting a haircut at my grandmother's house, can I get a cut on Thursday? Whole time it's just so that I can make sure I can be in there to see Thunder.
There
it is. Cable.
There it
That's
is.
The experience, right? We talked about last week.
And that's what's lost in professional wrestling. It's like, man, you can't keep shooting for the instant gratification, because that's what the fans want. And it's like, you have to make it an experience. And I'm like, dude, if you bought this company and you really had no plans, your attitude was just, I just wanted to save it because I didn't want it to be lost. I respect that and I appreciate that, right? But
yeah,
I mean, that's my suggestion. Like, put it somewhere different. Make it like NXT. NXT looked very different from what we saw on Raw and SmackDown. Even when they first started out at Full Sail, right? Smaller capacity, completely different look. You know, black and gold. You know what I mean?
That indie feel. It gave you that indie feel.
They gave you high production and a small atmosphere. Like that was WWE's indie, and that was what they capitalized on. Which is why all the indie guys said, "Well, shoot, WWE's got a show just for us. Like, we may not be good enough for the main roster, but they've got WWE style programming and booking and lighting and presentation on a smaller level." Of course, they destroyed it. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's and the Adam Cole's. They have been working the indies for years. They know exactly what to do. And they just flourished underneath Triple H's vision of what NXT was. Problem is, nobody wanted to leave after that. You know what I mean?
Sure,
so, you know, it's like, what are we supposed to do with this, and where does it go? Like, I was immediately worried when I saw they had to pull the titles. I figured they were going to rebrand Ring of Honor, because, you know, usually when it's a new, like when they first brought Ring of Honor, when Sinclair Broadcasting brought Ring of Honor, new logo, new belts, everything, which I really enjoyed. Now you're seeing small stuff like all of a sudden that old tag titles, the pure titles back, and it's just like, okay, there might be some licensing issues. Ring of Honor had to change their belts because they were reproducing those belts that were designed by Dave Milligan, I think. And he was like, well, I'm not getting commission off my belt designs. These are licensed titles. You guys don't own these designs. And they weren't giving them a cut when they was making replica belts. I didn't get one, which is why they had a random change of the Ring of Honor titles. They got a new world title, new 6-man, new television. Is because they were selling those replicas and they just only had license. They were licensed. They didn't own those, and they didn't cut in the belt. They didn't cut in the designer. So naturally it was a legal issue. And I didn't like the new belts after the old. I love the old ones, like the one Hughes got sitting back there that he was posed with earlier.
Right there.
There it is. There it is. Like that belt, that world title is a beauty.
It is. It is.
And it's one of my favorite championships. So it's like, it's stuff like that. They got the old titles, and it's like if you got all AEW guys holding your titles, it's like, and then you're seeing the titles defended on AEW Dynamite. I'm like, give them their own show. But I don't know. I just, once again, I've seen this before. I don't know what the plans are, but I mean, it's a wait and see situation. But I mean, that's just my take on it.
I don't think he knows what he's doing actually. But
he's impulsive to me.
Yeah, it's just
bye.
Right, every move he makes is based off of what WWE is doing. So it's like, all right, okay, it doesn't really make sense, but okay, let me just go ahead and buy it because I don't want them to have it. It seems kind of petty to me. But
man, that must be nice, right?
Battle of the Billionaires.
What? Tell me about it. Like, what's AEW's real identity? Are they really like a indie type of?
They don't have
a wrestling company, or are they entertainment type company? Like, what are they? Are they? They're not really a mixture. So it's like, I don't know. There's no source of direction.
And that's what I've been saying since the beginning. It's like, what are they known for? Like with WWE, whether you like it or not, you know what they're there to do: entertain you, right?
Absolutely.
AEW, I think what AEW does well is like I said, they have captured that alternative wrestling audience. But like I said, once again, Tony Khan is not satisfied with that. He wants that alternative wrestling audience to be just as big as sports entertainment audience, and it's just not, because the sports entertainment audience has been around for over 60 years. And it's like, and he's just fighting tooth and nail to prove that no, this style of wrestling is just as popular as the other stuff. And it's like, you can't do that, because now you book yourself into a corner. Right. And it's like, I appreciate the fact that you have the resources and the finances to make some of these things happen. And I appreciate, but it's like, be satisfied in what you do well, because if he, I think they will be in such a better space if they took what Ring of Honor did in its heyday, 14 to 16 in my mind, and just put that on steroids, because they have the money to do so. There was a lot of things that Ring of Honor couldn't do because financially it just wasn't in there. Like Sinclair Broadcasting, they were a piece of a bigger conglomerate that had nothing to do with professional wrestling. Tony Khan's put all his money into professional wrestling. I'm like, if you take that audience, you take that approach, you take all that stuff that they've done, and like, you have a lot of their same talent. And you have a lot of that same young talent that came up on that stuff that are eager to do the same thing. When you have young and eager talent, you have a recipe for potential greatness. TNA had it, WWE had it at one point, which is why Vince went with a youth movement during the new generation. He said, Flair, listen, I got to go young. I got some young talent. I'm going to put them in the right space. And Flair said, I appreciate you telling me. I'll go back and take Turner's money. And guess what he gave us? He gave us Bret Hart. He gave us Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor, because he said, I got young, hungry talent. TNA had that same young, hungry talent. Guess what? They're in WWE now. They're on their 40s. The Samoa Joes, the Bobby Roodes. At one point, the Eric Youngs, the AJ Styles, the Christopher Daniels in AEW. Like, they had a young, hungry group. You know what I mean? AEW has that same young and hungry group, but it's like now they've lost their luster a little bit, right? Yeah. Instead of just taking it and running with it, he wants to take it and make it something else. And a lot of people probably blame Cody because, it came out, reports came out. We don't know if this is true or not, but hearsay. Well, Cody, we weren't interested in competing with that. Like, that was Cody's thing. Like, yeah, it might have been, but at the end of the day, didn't y'all just say that Cody wasn't in charge? Jericho said it.
Cody took my word for it. Back home. That's what he did it for.
Jericho went on Kurt Angle's podcast and said, I think people had the idea that Cody was in charge, but he wasn't. Tony Khan was always in charge. Right. So you can't say Cody wanted to go to war with WWE. At the end of the day, they didn't have to. Somebody agreed with it. Whoever makes the decisions backstage and whoever has the final say, which most likely is Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Right. You made that decision, brother. You decided you wanted to go at them on that level, and it's not working. Instead of just saying, look, we're going to take everybody else,
stay in your lane,
and then we're going to build this audience, and then we're going to take what we do best and make it grow. And it's like, if they just did that as far along as they are, I think they would be a lot further, because when Ring of Honor and New Japan did their partnership, you know why the wrestling product was so good is because it was full of talent that just didn't care. They thought, we're not gonna make it to WWE anyway. They came out there and gave us the best they had to offer.
Swinging.
Because they didn't care. And guess who was in that company? You had the AEW World Champion. He was in that company during that time. Hangman Page was walking around, like I said, with BJ Whitmer and Punishment Martinez, who is Damian Priest now, you know, in their little devil group before Kevin Sullivan showed up and took over that whole situation. They were all in that company during that time. Hangman Page was BJ Whitmer's young boy. He was coming in the ring, and he had to hold him. That was the gimmick. He was making him carry his towel and the spit buckets and stuff. And eventually, he got Kobe Korean on all those guys involved. Like we seen some stuff. You know what I mean? Like that was a thing. That was a thing. Like all that talent was under one roof at one point in time. Those guys have emerged. They have grown, and look where they are. Those guys are leading the business right now. Hangman Page is one of the guys I said, man, if he ever develops some personality, he left all those other places so he could do that. The guy's world champion now. I've seen more from him in his last couple of years in AEW than I've seen in his entire career, which is an excellent thing. That's what you want to do. You want to grow, you want to evolve, you want to develop. And he's still growing and evolving, and they're smart for taking a young homegrown guy and putting in the title. Everybody thought that was going to be the original guy that won the title before it was Jericho. But you know, we hit a global pandemic and things change.
No, what's it called? Guy, his visa issue, Pac.
No, I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying though. Like originally, it was supposed to be Pac and Adam Page for the AEW.
Yeah, so that was before the pandemic.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That was the original plan at first, but then the pandemic hit it, and they went with Jericho.